20 seconds.
Thank you. And good morning, everybody, and welcome into what is normally Up North News Radio and Pat Krietlow. Pat Krietlow is not here, as it turns out. He is on a well-earned vacation. I am Todd Allbaugh, coming to you from the Civic Media headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin. But have no fear, some of the regular will be here. Mr. Greg Bach is on the board down at Radio Park in Racine. Good morning, Greg. Pat is on vacation. I am happy to be keeping the chair warm here on this Friday, February 7th, 2025, 6 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Glad to have you along. Thank you for holding my hand. And my voice, it turns out to be a little bit more grovelly at 6 a.m. versus noon.
That's what people up in the morning are like, oh, what is that? What is that buttery voice that's getting us all, awake and ready for the day? It's Todd Allbaugh in the morning.
Yeah, so normally, if you're not aware, I have the show across Civic Media from noon until 2. So, this is about the time I start thinking about getting up in the morning. And then I'll occasionally turn you and Pat on and listen to a little bit of that. I might hop over to another one of our shows and watch a little Good Morning or CBS This Morning, have some coffee. But here I am. And you know what? It wasn't that hard because I went to bed about 9 o'clock last night, a little bit after. And I thought, well, that's pretty good.
I had a very early night. I woke up this morning, and my wife wakes up also very early. And I was like, what time did I go to bed? And I'm thinking like, 7 or 8. She goes, 5. You went to bed at 5. I was like,
no way.
Oh, yeah, it was just one of those. I didn't sleep well the night before, and I came home after work, and I was kind of dozing off on the couch. I'm like, you know what? I'll just go upstairs. I'll play with the dog in the bedroom. And then before I knew it, it was the next time I woke up, it was like 11:30 at night. I'm like, oh. Okay.
Oh, all right then.
Well,
I'll do this then.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because today is National Wear Red Day to recognize cancer with or women with cancer and that dreaded disease and bring awareness to it. So I thought, well, I saw that. I thought, well, I'll pull out the old red flannel this morning, and I thought I'd text Greg, because here's the thing: sometimes I'll do something and then people are like, well, thanks a lot for telling me. I thought, well, I don't want to hear that in the morning, so I'll let Greg know. And I never heard anything. But it turns out Greg was already in bed.
Yeah. I was dreaming of lollipops and lollipops.
Well, it should be a fun morning here. I have several things to talk about. As it turns out these days in the news, there is lots to talk about. We'll get to what the Bucks did on the trading circuit a little bit here in just a minute. By the way, I know you co-host Matt Nair on air with Greg, or with Greg Matt Nair, with Jane. See, here, Todd, more coffee.
We've
more
become
coffee.
one.
Matt Nair on air with our friend Jane Matt Nair.
Yeah.
You guys were talking about some of these things yesterday with your producer Kelvin for that show. I had no idea that Kelvin was a true Bucks fan.
Yes, he is. He I told him before the show, I'm like, we're going to have Paul. He's like, oh, trust me, I have a lot of opinions. I'm like, that's great, because I know basketball tangentially through the fact that, like, we talk about it on the show. We have Luke Mathers is a huge fan.
Right.
Dan Schaefer's a huge fan. So I get these tidbits, and then, you hear Mike Clemens. So I know a little bit, but, Calvin has like real thoughts on it where he can go deep into statistics. I'm like, say more, master of the round ball.
No, he was great. I listened to that whole segment, and it wasn't just a take. Like, he knew his stuff. So I was very impressed with Kelvin. But we'll take a little bit of not quite as deep, but we'll give you the highlights of the Bucks end of the trading deal. Dan Schaefer of the recombobulation area and our political editor at Civic Media, was on our show yesterday, right before the deadline,
Yeah.
and he was like a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. He was just like, I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know. He was very nervous about the end of the deadline. So we'll take a look at that. We'll also take a look at there was a forum yesterday. The West Politics publication had a forum here in Madison yesterday for the state superintendent candidates. Coming up, of course, the primary. That's right. This month, a primary on Tuesday, February 18th. There is a three-way race for state school superintendent. Two of those will go on to the April 1st spring, or the general election in the spring. And there are some local races, primaries as well. Don't forget, early in-person voting is now underway across the state of Wisconsin. So as they say, check your local listings for times. But it may vary in terms of how you do it in your municipality. But Wisconsinites have the right for early voting right now. So don't forget to do that. Or if you can't vote on Election Day proper on February 18th. So we'll take a look at a couple of the things that the candidates who did show up, Dr. Jill Underly and Superintendent of Public Schools at Sauk Prairie, Jeff Wright, were there yesterday. So we'll take a look at what they said as well. And, Greg and I'll find something to talk about. And we, of course, this day in music history, lots going on. Everything from Garth Brooks to the Beatles and everything in between. And turns out, noodles. It's a big noodle day. We'll explain that. Yes. Well, one of my favorite. I used to be able to make this dish really well, but I haven't done it in years and years and years, and so I'm not sure if I could still do it. So we'll be cooking with Todd and Greg a little bit later on in this show as well. Right now, though, it is 12 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock across the state of Wisconsin. Let's see some of the temperatures right now across the state. Oh, Brittney Merlot, the lovely and talented Brittney Merlot, will be in with a little bit of weather for us after the 7 o'clock hour as well. In all seriousness, looks like a pretty significant weather system coming across the upper two-thirds of the state of Wisconsin tonight into tomorrow. Several advisories are out. Basically, if you know where Wisconsin Dells is, in the kind of the northern part of south central Wisconsin. So for Wisconsin Dells, just draw a line east and west. Above that line, most folks above that line are going to get some pretty good precipitation. And you know what? The folks up at Hayward for the Birkebeiner, they could use it because, of course, last year we were up there and they had to bring in a lot of man-made snow, person-made snow, I guess is the right thing to say. But they got it done, the Birkebeiner, but I think they're going to be very happy to have some natural snowfall here over the weekend. So temperatures around the state, it is 0 right now in Superior, Wisconsin, a balmy 0. A little warmer than that, 10 degrees up over in Bayfield. Looks like 3 right now in Hayward. Speaking of the Birkebeiner area, it is 3 degrees right now in Eau Claire, 5 degrees in Hudson, going down to La Crosse right now. Looks like 14 degrees there, 16 degrees in Richland Center, 7 degrees in Wausau, 9 degrees in Green Bay. And Greg Bach, he brings the sunshine, he brings the warmth. It is 16 degrees above 0 down in Racine at Radio Park. How about that, Greg?
Jealous.
Yes, a little bit. Although here it looks like right now it's 12 in Madison. So there you go.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get it. Madison's always got to be cool.
No. Well, we're literally cool this morning. So yeah, those are the temperatures. Again, much of the precipitation in northern Wisconsin is expected to get underway a little bit later today. As we said, Brittney Merlot will be in just a little while or in the second hour to give us the complete weather forecast for you across the state of Wisconsin. Let's take a look at a couple of sports headlines this morning. 14 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Again, Pat Krietlow is on a well-deserved vacation, as is the name proper, Up North News Radio. So we're calling this, what we do is we throw a bunch of names in a hat, and we just pick it out. And this morning, it turns out it's Civic Media This Morning. So that's what we're calling it. According to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel this morning, the Milwaukee Bucks have traded newly acquired Patrick Baldwin Jr. to the Spurs. The Bucks traded Baldwin to San Antonio last night, or at the deadline yesterday, the Journal-Sentinel learned. The Bucks also sent cash to the Spurs. Not Cash Patel, as it turns out, but no, actually, exactly, actual cash to the Spurs to take on Baldwin's contract, which gives the Bucks an open roster spot. The Journal-Sentinel also learned the Bucks also received a 2026 top 55 protected second round pick from the Spurs. That's a long title.
That's a lot of information. Like,
right?
You're like, okay, I'm going to need to go Wikipedia some of this information. But I mean, I think Calvin and Paul explained all of that yesterday. Like, there's these frozen picks and can't do anything. I'm like, man, this is a confusing game, really confusing game.
Greg, you're 100% right, and that's why I said yesterday to Dan Schaefer, look, I'm a casual Bucks fan. Yeah. I don't know why the NBA. This is a perfect example of the rules and all the insider stuff. I don't get. I cheer for Giannis and
yes,
used to Chris Middleton, and I hope they win, and I'm excited because for me the NBA really comes down. The NBA starts when the playoffs begin. For really, I mean, it just some of these games. There's so many of them, and the season is so long. For me, it's just too long.
Well, and that's the thing too, is in the beginning of the Bucks season this year was not good. And as someone who's sort of becoming, I think where I'm going where you are is I'm a casual fan. I enjoy talking about it here and there, but I'm like, the Bucks are doing terrible right now, like in the beginning of the season, and all the fans are like, that doesn't matter. I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't matter? Like, it matters. Like, tell me why it doesn't? And then they explain it. I'm like, oh, okay. So basically I treat basketball the same way I treat a flight. When Bucks fans are nervous and scared, that's when I'll start getting nervous for them. Other than that, probably sometime in the spring when they start playing the important basketball.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So the line, for those of you who do know what this means, the Bucks also received a 2026 top 55 protected second round pick from the Spurs by way of Utah. So it turns out, Jane Matner will be very happy about this. It turns out they'll be singing a lot of Book of Mormon. So that's what that means.
But no matter what, you got to switch flights in Atlanta. So
that's
it doesn't
right.
Matter. what a dumb joke.
I like that one. Baldwin was briefly. Is he a Baldwin brother, by the way? Is he Alec?
Yes, he is. He's the youngest unknown Baldwin.
The real sports people are saying these guys are a couple of goofs, and they're right. Baldwin was briefly with the franchise after being part of the deal that brought Kyle Kuzma to Milwaukee and sent Chris Middleton to Washington. It will be a 4-team trade that includes the New York Knicks. Baldwin, now here's what's interesting. Baldwin is a University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee alumnus.
Go Panthers!
Was the number 28 pick in the 2022 NBA draft by Golden State. He played one season for the Warriors before being traded to the Wizards. He apparently only appeared in 22 games. So there you go. We'll be back with a little bit of CBS Civic Media this morning with Bach and Todd after this on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I'm so proud to know that she is mine.
We've changed that. Greg and I have gone big time, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't this backdrop look like CBS? No.
We signed the big contract, baby.
Yep.
Welcome to the show. No, that's all I got. Oh, I was told, and I looked yesterday, if you look at the new guy, Kyle Kuzma for the Bucks, type his name and type fashion and look at like.
Oh, really? A big fashionista?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. All right. We could do that.
All right, so we're going to come back in a little over a minute.
Thank you.
A little less than 2 minutes. Yeah, we'll be back soon. All right, I'm going to go do some stuff. See you in a bit.
Bye.
Secret show.
Those watching the stream. And welcome back to Civic Media this morning. I'm Todd Allbaugh along with Greg Bach. It is, boy, where's the coffee? It is 6:21. Greg Brock, that's what I tried to call you. It is 6:21 in the morning. Pat Krietlow is somewhere south, putting his feet in the sand. Well-deserved rest. Good for him, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. He and Up North News Radio will be back in a matter of days. I am here today, but hold on to your bonnets. Get your sterilized gloves and white coat out on Monday because it is going to be Bach and the Doc for the first 4 days. The lovely, the talented, the effervescent, and always fun Dr. Kristen Lyerly is going to be in the host chair here Monday through Thursday along with Greg. I seriously can't wait because here is someone that I have so much respect for and admire so much because of what she's done, what she does professionally, but just the person that she is. And she's someone who's just, as the old phrase in politics goes, she is somebody that you can have and have fun having a beer with. Maybe not at 6 in the morning, but but maybe.
You know, she's definitely going to hand you a Bloody Mary and go, "Here you go, honey. I hope you slept well."
Right?
Yeah.
I'm very excited. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I love Dr. Lyerly. I love learning. Like seriously, I learn so much from her every time she's on the show.
Yes.
Because she is able to bring, fundamentally important information from her field and from politics to the people, and also do it in a way that is just so engaging, energetic, and comes from a place that because she really cares about people, regardless of who you are, who you voted for. She cares about all people because that's her job as a doctor, to care for and take care of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dr. Lyerly will be in the host chair Monday through Thursday next week, and then I return to spend Valentine's Day with Greg next Friday. That'll be fantastic.
Fun.
So looking forward to that. And then Krietlow will be back as long as they let him in the country. We'll find out. We'll find out whether in these times, Greg, that is no longer a given. As it turns out,
that's very, 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 very true. We did get a really quick. Speaking, you were talking about the weather earlier in the show, and we did get a message from Roger and Stevens Point listening to us on WFHR.
Great.
Antigo schools will be closed today due to illness. Wow. The closures allow the district to conduct a comprehensive and thorough deep cleaning of the facility. I was expecting snow. But no, okay. Well, if you are living up in that area, just know that your schools, the Antigo schools, are closed today.
All right. Well, Roger, thank you very much for giving that information to us, and thanks for your listenership up there on our great station WFHR. Have you been to that station, Greg?
I have not, honestly. I feel I've been, at the old WAUK studio in Waukesha, or some call it a used dentist office. We're here in Radio Park, which is a luxurious studio. Yeah. And I've been to the Madison headquarters, but I've never ventured out to any other places, which I really would like to do in 2025.
Well, we'll get you out there in a couple. Yeah. You come along with Jane and I. We'll figure out something. We'll pay somebody off. So, but no, FHR. It's a beautiful studio and beautiful people. And when I was there this fall on one of our swings to the state, what I was struck by most, it reminded me so much of my home station in Richland Center, which is now part of Civic Media, WRCO. People from the community were constantly coming in, dropping off things like, oh, here's a church fundraiser dinner for somebody who lost their house. Here's information about the Little League or whatever, the football Pee Wee League. It's all community driven. Yeah. And that's what's so critical about these stations throughout Civic Media. And what I love about it, and I keep saying this on our show, and I've heard you and Jane talk about this as well, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the massive news coming out of Washington every day. And I know I have thought to myself at times, even with the privilege of getting to be in front of a microphone 2 hours a day, what can I really do? And I think the more we focus locally, it's those local stations, those local activities, those local school board races where we still have opportunities to have direct influence. And I think it just makes us better when we're involved in our communities.
Absolutely. I think, it sounds cliche and people might shrug their shoulders and go, oh my gosh, this guy with his, but it's about getting out there in the community. And it is also about finding out who your local reps are, who are the people passing the laws that directly affect not your state, not even your country, but your block. And going out there and talking to them and talking to people and getting the information out there, but also bringing a pie too, or just sitting down and saying, hey, because we can have those discussions. We can have those conversations. I guarantee you the people on my street, we all didn't vote for the same person. But if I said, hey, what's concerning you about our neighborhood? We probably agree on a lot more than we disagree.
Yeah. Totally. I agree with that. I agree with that as it turns out. So thank you for that information, though, Roger. And again, Antigo schools closed today due to illness. It is. I mean, I know a norovirus has spread through a certain area. I mean, we here at the studios in Madison, we had about 4 or 5 days when the only well people here in Madison, unill people, were myself, Aaron Zommers, my producer, and Sage Weil, our owner. Everybody else had gotten sick to some degree. And so I was, where are they at? I got the Clorox wipes around here somewhere. I'm like, I don't know. Exactly, right? Exactly. All right,
Someone was preparing.
Greg's got it there in the studios in Racine. A couple of quick headlines for you, then we'll come back and talk a little bit more on the other side about this state of Wisconsin superintendent race. Internationally, around 10,000 employees of the U.S. Agency for International Development are the targets of President Donald Trump's job cuts today. Multiple sources are telling CNN and others that nearly all but around 300 USAID personnel deemed essential are expected to be fired, furloughed, or put on leave in the coming hours. USAID is charged with delivering humanitarian assistance overseas, but critics say its programs are wasteful and promote a liberal agenda. The Trump administration says dismantling the agency is grounded in efforts to save government money, though some of the experts have warned that freezing its funds will intensify global humanitarian crises. Greg, when we come back, I'm going to, it's, I guess, maybe a bit self-serving because Dan Schaefer asked me to take a stab at writing a column, the recombobulation area this week, which I did. I know a little something about USAID, so we'll come back and we'll discuss that. And we'll also discuss a little bit about the state superintendent race as well here on a Friday morning, the 7th of February. Where's my coffee? Why did I say Tuesday? It's Friday. Good morning, Americans. It's Friday. I'm not Paul Harvey nor Pat Krietlow. I'm Allbaugh. He's Bach. It is 6:29. Stay tuned to the Civic Media Radio Network. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Things are not wired. It's the mad cow. You understand, people? It's the mad cow.
It's. I mean, you do noon to 2 every day. So it's just a little.
This is
You're doing great.
Oh, thanks.
All right, we're back in a little less than 4 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. See, now you're doing. All right, I'm gonna go make some coffee. Be back. Right, and for all those on the live stream right now, secret show. We got the good spot and we're coming. Beep, beep.
mother standing by the road with a heavy load from the seeds he sowed. And if you see your sister falling by the way, just stop and say, you're going the wrong way.
And welcome back to Civic Media this morning. I'm Todd Allbaugh. It is 6:34 on a Friday morning, the 7th of February, 2025, along with Greg Bach. Glad to be here. Mr. Pat Krietlow at Up North News Radio will return in just a few days. We are filling in for him while he has a well-earned vacation here. It is a beautiful morning across Wisconsin. A little chilly, temperatures in the single digits for the most part, unless you're up in beautiful Superior, where it is a balmy 0 right now. Still remains in Superior. Brittney Merlot will be in about a half an hour or so with a weather update telling us about a major weather system that's going to be bearing down on parts of Wisconsin later today and into tomorrow. Expect some significant snowfalls in the northern part of Wisconsin, maybe even the central part. Basically, a line from Wisconsin Dells east and west. Anything north of that line is going to see some precipitation. South of the line, towards Madison here, a little bit less. The only place that's looking like that might not receive any significant precipitation is right along the state line. But the rest of us across the state of Wisconsin are going to get some much needed precipitation. That's great news for our agriculture folks, as it seems weird to say this in winter, but Greg Bach, we are in a pretty significant drought situation for our ag producers right now, which could get really, really serious come spring here if we don't get some precipitation.
I feel like we were at the same place last year too. Like it's just they would not the planting season just did not go as great because they were not getting as much rainfall as they needed. And it's just, we seem to always be in this place now where the planting season is threatened by drought.
Yeah, it really is. And so Brittney will tell us how much snow we can expect and how that might help some of our ag producers across the state of Wisconsin as we move into the weekend. Want to spend a couple of minutes here on following up on this story we talked about right before the break, and then get into some more education news here in the state of Wisconsin. Talked about this story making headlines this morning about USAID. And I get that a lot of people are going to go, well, I'm not sure what that does really. So the story this morning across the wires is around 10,000 employees of the U.S. Agency for International Development are the targets of President Donald Trump's job cuts today. So, what multiple places are reporting this morning is all but around 300 USAID personnel deemed essential are expected to be fired or furloughed or put on leave today in the coming hours. And I know something about this, just, if you're a person of faith, I guess you would say through a blessing, or if you're a person of the universe, you'd say just it was meant to be. I'll give you the quick version, and again, the story is at recombobulationarea.news or on civicmedia.us. And I wrote about growing up in southwest Wisconsin in Richland Center, a town of about 5,000 people, and we only had one black family in our school district when I was growing up in the 70s and to the early 80s. And that changed in the mid-80s when U.S. Senator Bob Caston, who probably would never happen today. He happened to be a Republican here in Wisconsin, conservative. And but one of the things he did was he co-authored a bill and championed its funding in Congress, bipartisan bill, which for those of us of a certain age in the 80s, there was essentially a faux war going on in Central America between the United States and the Soviet Union vis-a-vis Cuba. And so the United States was funding one side with weapons and money, and the Soviet Union was funding the pro-communist side to paint a broad brush in Central America without ever declaring war on each other. And of course, the victims were the Central Americans in El Salvador in particular, which I know a lot about. Over 80,000 people were killed in that civil war funded largely by the U.S. and the Soviet Union. So U.S. Senator Bob Caston of Wisconsin said, hey, why don't we maybe take a portion of that money going into military spending and allocate it towards education? And we'll run it through the State Department, and it will be administered by USAID. And what it did was it set up a program called the Central American Scholarship Program, or CASP was the acronym. And what it did, it was a marvelous program that identified students that were from very, very poor home lives. Many of these students grew up in homes of tin roofs and dirt floors, but they graduated at or near the top of their high school classes academically. And the program said, let's identify these students, offer them 2-year full-ride scholarships to come to a university in the U.S. and study either business or computer science. They'll get associate degrees. The requirement will then be that they must return to their home country for at least 2 years. And it was a really simple but important concept to lift from within, with the idea being, if Central Americans are safe physically and also economically and from a food standpoint, and if they have food and they're able to make a living and pay their rent or have a small house or whatever, they'll most likely stay there, and it will stem some of this illegal, quote unquote, migration to the United States. Because if you talk to most Central Americans, they'll say, I love it here. I love my family. I love the nice weather. You got the beach in a lot of these countries, and my way of life. But I don't feel safe and I can't make a living. And that's what pushes many of them to risk their lives to come to the United States. And so the idea was we could actually do something real about the quote unquote immigration problem if we lift from within. And it was a tremendously successful program. And it was run through Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and Wisconsin was one of the states that was identified to work with. In particular, the University of Wisconsin system, as it was known at the time, and our 2-year campuses, such as they were called center campuses. So it was UW Center Barron. It was Barron County, Rice Lake. It was UW Center Richland, Richland County. It was UW Center Waukesha in Waukesha County. And so at the time, if memory serves, because I was going to one of them at Richland Center at the time, I think of the 13 2-year campuses, like 10 of them participated in this program. So every fall, you'd get about 18 to 20 students from Central America that would come in for 2 years. And particularly small towns like Richland Center and Rice Lake, where you didn't really have a minority population, it was so refreshing. And yes, there were some yahoos that caused some problems, not the students, but the people living in town, just due to not knowing anybody like that. But 95% of the experience was positive on both sides, because you learned something about a foreign country. They lived with families. They went to our church services. They joined like Rotary clubs locally, and they became part of the community. So our family hosted 3 of those students, 2 from El Salvador, 1 from Belize. One of them, his name was Silas, that I got to know very well. He got his 2-year homestay requirement deferred for 2 years and ended up going to UW Platteville with me to finish up his degree. And fast forward, when I was working for U.S. Congressman Scott Klug, who happened to be, yes, they don't exist anymore, a moderate Republican that represented Madison of all places. And we had Wisconsin cheese producer, dairy producers, in particular Sargento Cheese of Plymouth. And they started to get into that market in Central America, but they needed some help cutting through, some bureaucratic red tape, we'll just say. So I ended up going down, meeting with U.S. Ambassador Ann Patterson along with my buddy Silas, and she was just really taken by our story of how we met through a program through USAID. And so she helped because she had been appointed by former Democratic President Bill Clinton, and she once again, in a bipartisan way, helped us to cut through that. And more markets were opened up in Central America, Latin America, to Wisconsin dairy producers. And also, USAID was instrumental in helping Salvadoran coffee farmers look at this thing called coffee rust. I know that's the layman's term. It's basically a fungus that is made worse by climate change, because coffee, high-end coffee, has to be grown at a higher altitude so that it's a cooler climate. And with climate change now, many of these coffee grows on trees, if you don't know that, and these coffee trees were dying because of climate change in El Salvador. And so USAID worked with the farmers to do a hybrid to adapt and lessen the coffee rust. Some of those farmers were saved. Others, the economic impact was lessened. And then fast forward a little bit later, after I got out of politics, I ended up starting a small coffee business, and we bought coffee, and have other coffee producers or coffee businesses in Wisconsin bought coffee from those same farmers that were aided and helped through USAID to stem coffee rust. I tell you that long story only because I want people to understand that when we read stories like this, when we hear stories, we talk about stories, these big government entities, USAID and all the rest, it seems like a faraway place. It seems like, well, there must be a lot of waste out there. Of course, that doesn't affect me. That story right there, I hope, helps you realize that's one guy, me. Replicate that by hundreds of thousands of, not millions of times around the globe. And this narrative that's being put out there by my former party, I'm a Republican who left the party in 2011, pre-Trump. You can say what you want about George W. Bush, but even the most ardent liberal progressive will concede that what he did in his administration, working with USAID and PEPFAR, which is a program to stem the spread of HIV/AIDS in Africa, has saved millions, like over 20 million lives due to PEPFAR. Former Republican Congressman Mark Green of Green Bay was the last administrator of USAID under the first Trump administration. He was the ambassador to Tanzania before that. He spent his life working around the globe with his wife on these issues. So this is not a lefty program, quote unquote. This is not some big bloated thing. Of course, every government program has places to, or nearly everyone, to have efficiencies, to have it reviewed, to see where we can cut. Absolutely. But that program changed my life, because going to El Salvador, I've been there 39 times now over 25 plus years. It made me realize what's important, which is if you're surrounded by people that love and accept you for who you are, you have good but simple food and music that lifts the soul, you're rich. I'm very rich for my relationships. My two godsons come from that program, basically. They're half Salvadoran. These programs affect each of us every day, and I hope that puts some context into it, Greg.
Yes. I mean, that story is amazing, and I think those are the stories that need to be shared, and I don't disagree with you and many people. Of course, there's places in government to cut spending and lessen the bloat and minimize bureaucracy. But in programs like this is the stuff where it's like, hey, maybe we should give them a little more to do a little more good for the people. That's what we're supposed to be doing, is helping people.
Right.
But it's through stories like this, Todd, that we can get an understanding of what it's really all about. So thank you.
Well, thank you for allowing me the time. But I look at Wisconsin ag producers, who, of course, are most of our red leading counties in Wisconsin. And again, here we have an example of the Trump administration cutting a program that directly helps Wisconsin ag producers. And I just don't think that most MAGA voters signed up and voted to hurt themselves. I mean, that's what's kind of happening now. But I don't believe that's why they voted for Donald Trump. So think about that as you move forward and vote in elections this spring. Think about what candidates are saying in terms of how it will really affect you. Look at it's happening right now in D.C. and these cuts, and what will really help you. It is 48 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. We're going to come back and do a little Today in History, a little Today in Music History, and maybe we'll do a quick cooking segment. I forgot my fettuccine, though. We'll come back to it. Also, we got to get to this story about the state school superintendent race, and a forum that was held yesterday. I'll correct myself because I was incorrect a little bit earlier. Stay tuned. It's Civic Media this morning on CBS.
Yeah, we're
I can't see. The problem is I got to get my clock up. The problem is I'm reading off of my screen and stuff, and then I can't see you.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'll just put the clock on. That's easier.
Oh. Uh-oh.
What?
Hi, Luke.
What does Luke have to say? Luke's being smart.
Oh, I think he might be checking the Facebook stuff right now.
Oh. All right. All right. So now I got my clock up. That'll be better. I shouldn't have done that in the first place. All right. Where do we want to start with?
We're gonna do history. So I'll start with this first song, "Venus" by Shocking Blue.
All right.
Is it? Yep, Shocking Blue. And then we'll run through it and be good to go.
All right.
See you in a moment.
Yep. Can hear the blower out on State Street. What are they blowing? There's no snow to blow. I don't think there's any leaves. Can you hear that? Welcome back to Civic Media this morning. I'm Todd Allbaugh along with Greg Bach. We are filling in for our vacationing Pat Krietlow, Up North News Radio, and Pat will return in just a few days after his well-earned vacation at 8 minutes now before the hour of 7 o'clock. Time once again for Today in History. It is Friday, February 7th, 2025. But let's go back to 1970. Venus by the Shocking Blue hit number 1.
I love that. Casey Kasem.
That's my hit
number 1.
That's right. Casey Kasem, Venus by the Shocking Blue hit number 1.
Listen how country that sounds.
Right? I know. It's really good. That's a great song. I haven't heard that song in a long time. That's a great song. 1964, on this date, thousands of screaming fans greet the Beatles when their plane lands in New York. The scenes instantly become iconic images of Beatlemania. How many times have we seen those photographs and,
oh my gosh,
and video? People they went absolutely apoplectic.
Good college word. That's definitely like a 1400 SAT word right there.
Right, exactly. I'll be Gilligan's Island for a second. They went apoplectic. Not only that, they were going crazy.
It's been a month since we ate. Feels more like 4 weeks, but okay, I guess.
Exactly. On this date in 1904, a fire begins in Baltimore, destroys over 1,500 buildings in 30 hours. Wow. My
goodness.
I mean, that's like the East Coast version of the Peshtigo fire right there.
There, yeah, exactly.
All right, oh my God, this is fantastic. One of my all-time favorites. 1962, Garth Brooks was born. He is 62 years. 62. Garth Brooks. All right. Do we have a little call in Baton Rouge?
Oh yeah, we do.
All right, fantastic. Here we go.
It's just a little bit of an intro, though, Todd.
No, it's fine. I know. It's a great song. Listen to the fiddle, folks.
I spent last night in the arms of a girl in Louisiana. Going out on the highway, my thoughts are still with her. Such a strange
I still have never seen him live.
Really? Garth Brooks, 62 today. One of the best concerts of my life. I had the privilege of seeing him in a really small, comparatively venue when my sister was going to school out at Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and at Augustana University, and he played like the field house at Augustana College. And I mean, if that thing sat, I don't know, 6,000, 7,000 at
Oh my
tops,
gosh.
maybe tops at 6,000. And he put on a performance that it was amazing. Amazing. So Garth Brooks, of course, it really was one of those people that transformed country music. He's still getting it done. I think he's doing a residency out in Vegas, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I'd highly recommend it if you ever have a chance to see it. But that makes me feel old. Garth Brooks at 62. Also born on this date in 1935, Herb Kohl. Better known as Nobody's Senator But Yours. He was an American businessman and politician. He passed away in 2023, but of course he was the one that saved the aforementioned Milwaukee Bucks. Also born on this date in 1867, Laura Ingalls Wilder. Born in Wisconsin, of course, and wrote the Little House books. Little House on the Prairie went on to be a big TV show as well. In 1804, John Deere, American blacksmith and businessman, of course, founded John Deere and Company. Boy, you see a lot of John Deere green as you traverse the highways and byways of rural Wisconsin, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And this is fantastic right here. This is great. 1960, one of my favorite actors, James Spader, was born. He is 63 today. Boston Legal remains one of my all-time favorite shows.
I need to rewatch that show.
I've got all 5 seasons on DVD. Yes, yeah. I'm that old. And also 1965, Chris Rock. Chris Rock was born. He is 59 years old today, although they say he actually looks like 61 after Will Smith slapped him. So,
dang.
1971, Linda Ronstadt and James Taylor record backup vocals to Neil Young's Heart of Gold, which becomes his biggest hit, a little Heart of Gold.
Keep me searching for a heart of gold.
The song, the voices.
Keep me searching,
right?
And I'm growing old.
Has the character on SNL once said, like butter, like butter.
Like a big stick of butter.
James Taylor and Linda Ronstadt said Hearts of Gold. And in 1976, Paul Simon said he really didn't like this song and didn't think it was nearly as good as Bridge Over Troubled Waters. Thought it was kind of a hokey song. But it became Paul Simon's first #1 song as a solo artist, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover.
Problem is all inside your head, she said to me. The answer is easy if you take it logically. I'd like to help you in your struggle to be free. There must be 50 ways to leave your lover.
That song would go on to be Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth's theme song later on in life. For 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Paul Simon. Great. One of my favorite songs, actually. One of my favorite songs. Also, Disney's Pinocchio premiered back in 1940, and the dissolution of the Soviet Union happened on this day in 1990. I remember that one as well.
Me too.
There you go. Today in history, it is the 7th of February. It is 2 minutes before the hour of 7 o'clock. Back with Brittney, Merlot, weather, Greg, Bach, and Todd. It is Civic Media this morning on the Civic Media Radio Network.
There we go.
Well done. Excellent.
There we go. Good first hour.
We got that one on the can. We kept it on the air.
I'll take a Coke. Would you like that? Would you like that in the can? No, I'll take it right here.
That's fantastic.
And everyone in the live stream, secret show. All right.
All right, back in 5.
See you in a bit.
Yeah, bye. Bless you. Gesundheit.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. Secret show gets sneezes. All right. I'm waiting for Brittney to, I sent her the link. And then also have some live stream comments we'll go through when we get back.
All right.
Other than that, we're all good, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Gracias, señor.
De nada.
We're going to do the next hour in all Spanish. Buenos días, bienvenido a Civic Media en la mañana. Soy Todd con Greg Recin.
Hola. All right, see you in a bit.
Bye.
Hey, Brittney.
Good morning.
Going on in a second.
Good day, sunshine. Good day, sunshine. Good day, sunshine. I need to light.
And good morning, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh here in Madison, Wisconsin, along with Greg Bach. Take two. Start the hour over. Good morning, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh in Madison, along with Greg Bach and Racine. It is Civic Media this morning, in for a vacationing Pat Krietlow and Up North News Radio, which will return. God, I got to put my dentures back in. There we go. Krietlow will be back along with Up North News Radio from the Courier News Service next, well, in a few days. We'll just call it that. I'm in today, at least. I think I'll be back next week. We'll see if they keep me. But next week will be fantastic because Monday through Thursday, it's going to be Dr. Kristen Lyerly in the chair here with you Monday through Thursday, along with Greg. It'll be Bach and the Doc. It'll be fantastic. And then I'm coming back to be your Valentine's Day sweetheart on a Friday edition next week. That'll be fantastic. How are you, Greg?
I'm doing quite well. It's always great to be on the radio with Mr. Todd Allbaugh. And folks listening and folks watching on the live stream. By the way, you can find us on the live stream.
Yeah.
Go to Civic Media's YouTube or we still call it Twitter in this house, but X, you know, what do you want to call it? Todd, myself. And you can see me doing this to Todd because he can't take a comment. Todd, you're great. You're great.
All right, let's move on. It's 7 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. We'll get into some daily headlines here. Also going to take a look. There was a forum yesterday here in Madison for the state school superintendent. I think I misspoke in hour number one. I had said that it was Jeff Wright, the Sauk Prairie School District Superintendent, along with Dr. Jill Underley, the current DPI superintendent that was at this forum yesterday. Jill Underley was a no-show yesterday. She was not there. So the two people that were there were Jeff Wright from Sauk Prairie and also the education consultant Brittney Kinzer, who is running as the conservative or the Republican in the race, along with Jeff Wright, one of two Democrats. Dr. Underley, the other Democrat, was a no-show yesterday. We'll talk about that, talk about what the candidates who did show up yesterday at the WisPolitics.com forum said, and give you a little insight on that. Also take a couple of headlines here for you before we get to weather. Around 10,000 employees of the U.S. Agency for International Development are the targets of President Donald Trump's job cuts today. Only about 300 people of essential personnel will be left after today, according to reports. A Cessna plane with 10 people on board disappeared during a flight in Alaska, according to local and state officials. The small aircraft operated by Bering Air was en route last night to Uncle Land in Nome, Alaska. Both cities of western Alaska separated by the Norton Strait Inlet. So again, another apparent air mishap in Alaska last night. Another news, a pair of U.S. lawmakers are seeking to ban government workers from using Chinese startup DeepSeek's artificial intelligence chatbot on official devices. Representatives Darren LaHood, a Republican from Illinois, and Josh Gothenheimer, a New Jersey Democrat, are set to propose legislation today. California utility company Southern California Edison said its equipment, quote, may be associated with, unquote, the ignition of the Hearst fire, which burned alongside the Eaton and Palisades fire during last month's firestorm in Los Angeles. A couple of headlines for you around the country and around the world today. Right now, though, it is time to take a look closer to home here in the state of Wisconsin at Wisconsin's weather. And to join us to give us all that, the wonderful, the talented meteorologist here at Civic Media. We know her, we love her, Ms. Brittney Merlot. How you doing, Brittney? Glad to have you along.
Good morning, Todd. I'm doing fantastic. And I was going to say, Wisconsin's in those headlines now, too, with this storm headed our way. So I'm
That's
excited.
right.
I'm a snow lover, but this is missing the city. So this is all good news.
No, we were talking, Greg and I were talking first hour as well. As you well know, so many of our agricultural producers around the state of Wisconsin, it sounds weird to say in winter, but there are drought conditions and some certainly a lot of consternation and concern about getting some moisture here. So give us the lay of the land, Brittney. What can we expect with this storm system coming in tonight into tomorrow?
Well, absolutely. First, I want to talk about that snow drought. We are about 4 snowstorms shy of where we should be this time of year. So that puts a bunch of areas at about 20 inches short. That's a ton. So this storm is well welcomed. We are looking at it moving in late tonight and into the overnight hours, spreading throughout the entire state. And then, of course, we are going to see that continuing throughout the day tomorrow. So a winter storm watch has been issued. These are the areas that are going to be hit the hardest, where we're looking at 4 to 7 inches. This is going to be from Rice Lake to Eau Claire, from Wausau through Wisconsin Rapids, into Green Bay, Appleton, and Manitowoc. Those are going to be the hardest hit areas. Now, winter weather advisory is also out for, far north of that and south of that into areas north of La Crosse, north of the Dells, and all the way through the Northwoods. So those areas are looking at getting about 2 to 5 inches of snowfall. And then if you're south into Madison, Milwaukee, Janesville, you're looking more at about a trace to an inch from this. But it will be snowing through a good chunk of the day, so roads will still be slick and slippery no matter how much you're getting. It's going to affect us statewide. But the good news is it is going to be cooler with temperatures into those 20s for a big chunk of the state. So it's going to be a lighter, fluffier, drier type of snow. Versus if you get snow in towards Milwaukee, it's going to be a wetter, slushier type. So pay attention to that. Otherwise, though, we're clear for Sunday. Super Bowl, sunny, cooler. The system's well in our rearview mirror.
I like that phrase, 4 snowstorms short of a drought. That's often the way I'm described by people. It's time, four snowstorms short of a drought.
And everyone else is like, what do you mean? Three Twix short of a candy bar.
Right, exactly. No, I like that. Give us some timing, Brittney, for people that might be in an afternoon commute or trying to get to places. When do we expect most of this precipitation to start in the state of Wisconsin today?
Sure. So today, you're good. Most of the day completely dry. Far northwest, this is going to start to move in around 9 o'clock tonight. It's going to spread through the Northwoods around 3 a.m., and it's going to start to move into more of our southern areas towards La Crosse and probably around 9 a.m., and that's also when it's going to ramp up. So the morning is going to be hit the hardest into the early afternoon. Then the system starts to clear on out of here, and it's gone through the entire state by 6 o'clock tomorrow evening.
Well, that's great. So people, if you don't have to work tomorrow, I know people have to work on the weekends, but if you don't have to, just, get yourself some French toast or some pancakes tonight to make up and just make yourself a nice brunch in the morning and watch it snow, right? Just stay home.
Agree. Yes.
in your pajamas.
We wouldn't have a weather update without our friend Rob from Tigerton, who sent us a message saying, "Good morning from Tigerton. It's clear and 4 degrees with a wind chill of 8 degrees below zero. Ugh. Many roads in western Shawano County have some slippery roads from yesterday's blowing and drifting." He said, "It's great we are getting snow to help the area economy with winter activities and the farmers for moisture we need when they get into the growing season." And finally, he says, "Give our firefighters appreciation for fighting fires in these cold and windy conditions. There have been some barn fires in the Green Bay area recently."
Yes, it's been very dry, the dry air moving in. And then, of course, the snowmobile trails are opening in Oneida County this morning. And I know that a ton of other counties are going to follow after Saturday. So winter recreation is definitely starting up. I know that I'm excited. A lot of others are too.
Right?
But this morning it is cold, though. Keep that in mind, the wind chills. Ooh,
It's
16
looking
below and to go.
It's looking pretty good, though, for our friends in Hayward. Get ready for the Birkenbeiner here in a couple of weeks. I mean, if they get 6-7 inches of snow today on top of what they have a little bit already, I mean, hopefully they'll be able to get those races in without having to make a whole lot of man-made snow, correct?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it looks fantastic for them. Finally. Yay.
Yeah, right?
Turkey fever.
Good for them. All right, Brittney, it's speaking of food, it is the 7th of February today. A couple of these national days. Did you know it was Bubblegum Day? Are you a bubblegum chewer, Brittney?
Not anymore, but when I was a kid, yes.
Really, Greg?
No, I'm not a bubblegum chewer.
I'm not either. I'm not. I'm more of like a Tic Tac guy. If I have to, if I want to freshen up, I'll pop one of those in. It's also, Greg and I are in our red today. It is National Wear Red Day on the first Friday of February, the annual campaign to raise awareness about heart disease in women. The national campaign urges women to learn their risk for heart disease and take steps to lower their risk. What increases a woman's chances of heart disease? Well, as you might expect, smoking, a sedentary lifestyle, a family history of diabetes, stress, and inflammatory diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and Crohn's complications during pregnancy and menopause. So make sure women should take care of themselves out there. I think it's important just to set that aside. It's not. I think too often people, I've heard from women in my life, well, you're just getting older, or well, you had kids, or whatever. No. Take care of yourself. As it turns out, women are people too.
Oh, who knew?
Right. And in these days, it's good just to remind people that women are people too. And also, I'm very excited about this. Brittney, do you like fettuccine Alfredo?
Oh, yeah, I'm Italian. I love it.
Right? It is National Fettuccine Alfredo Day. I didn't even know this was a thing. Have you ever made it from scratch?
No.
Have you, Greg?
No. I pay people to make it for me.
I have a recipe somewhere. I used to, my sister worked for a place called the Wild River Cafe in, what did you say?
Olive Garden.
No, Wild River Cafe, a little tiny airport cafe in Lone Rock, Wisconsin, which is outside of Richland Center. But this John Jenkins' wife Cindy were from the South, and he'd make you something. He'd say, "Slap a lip on that," and he taught me how to make fettuccine Alfredo from scratch. And the key is like literally a half a pound of butter. I mean, it's just, that's all you need, and cream. So enjoy yourself some real, not the Olive Garden, some real fettuccine Alfredo. And it's National Send a Card to a Friend Day. Do you guys still handwrite cards to people?
Yep.
I do here and there, not as much as I should, but I'd like to, because it's just a nice little practice or a postcard.
Right. I try to. I don't do it nearly as often as I should, but I try to write it out. Well, Brittney Merlot, you always make us feel better. Send a card to Brittney. She's our friend.
Yeah.
But we'll expect that snow to move in overnight tonight, tomorrow. So stay put if you can tomorrow, folks. And Brittney says Super Bowl Sunday will be clear. Quick prediction, Brittney. Who do you like, the Chiefs or the Eagles?
Eagles all the way.
Really?
Boy, everyone's going Eagles. I feel like they're just turning their backs on Mr. Kelsey.
All right. We appreciate it, Brittney. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye. Brittney Merlot with our weather. Greg Bach on the board. We'll come back and talk a little bit school superintendent race on the other side. It is a Friday, the 7th of February, 2025, 18 minutes past the hour, 7 o'clock on the Civic Media Radio Network.
She knows she's looking fine. I'm so proud to know that she is mine. Go Good day, sunshine. Good day, sunshine.
All right. Let's see here.
Mr. Buck.
Secret Joe. I loaded up another Beatles song I'll play. I won't play
Okay.
next, but I'll play I'll probably play at the end.
Sure.
And then I'm gonna play another Garth Brooks song so you can refer to those days in history again.
All right, cool. Awesome.
And
Thank
I'll
you.
pick another song.
Oh, you're so good.
I'm good.
You're great.
All right, see you in a bit. Yeah, you're right. I am great.
Yes,
It's about times I would said it.
I'm saying it.
See you in a bit.
I got friends in low places where the whiskey drowns and the beer chases my blues away. And I'll be okay. Yeah, I'm not big on
There he is, the birthday boy, born on this day back in 1962. Yes, Garth Brooks is 62 years old today. Can you believe it? I cannot. 21 past the hour of 7 o'clock on Friday, February 7th. Todd Allbaugh sending in for a vacationing Pat Krietlow and Up North News Radio, which will return in a few days when Pat comes back like Richard Nixon, tan, rested, and ready.
And not a crook.
That's right. But he has the hair. He has the coif of hair.
Oh, yeah.
Trigby Olsen and I are very, very jealous of Pat Kritlow's hair. Of course, it's a toupee, but it looks great.
Ooh, it's
No, it's not.
it's so good. It's a 3-pay. What? I'm sorry, I can't stop with the jokes.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Oh, Lordy, I love it. Well, that was very nice of Brittney Merlot to stop by. And as it turns out, most of the snow is going to come in overnight. So, again, I know people that do have to work on the weekends, and for those people, allow some extra time in the morning. But it sounds like our commute home will be good. Taking a look at the 511wi.gov website, which shows you all of the road conditions across the state of Wisconsin. It looks like most places in Wisconsin are in good winter driving condition. The exception is just a little stretch around Tomahawk this morning on Highway 51. That road is partially covered in snow, and also Highway 53 just north of Chippewa Falls up to Bloomer. That also has a small stretch there of partially covered in snow as well. But the rest of Wisconsin roadways look in good winter driving condition this morning. A couple of traffic accidents around I-41 this morning in the Milwaukee-Waukesha area. There is a blocked road there due to an accident. And the interstate just north of Janesville on I-3990, there were a semi apparently went off the side of the road. It's off the road, but you might encounter some delays in that. But no other major major delays around the state of Wisconsin. As one of our callers, our listeners, chimed in this morning, I believe it was Roger from WFHR. The Antigo School District is closed today, not because of weather, but because of illness. As a lot of illness going around. Thank you, Greg. Roger from Stevens Point, listening to WFHR, says Antigo schools will be closed today due to illness. The closure allows the district to conduct a comprehensive and thorough deep cleaning of all facilities. That stuff is not to be taken lightly, because that norovirus and stuff that spreads like wildfire.
And I have a couple of friends who got it, and what they described was like worse than the flu. It's just, and one of my friends is still sick. She's been sick for like 3 weeks.
Really?
So I promise you, I'm not going to get political. I'm going to get humanitarian on this one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shifting opinions on viruses and illnesses and vaccinations and all those things, but we can't deny that these, they exist. Norovirus exists. Do what you can. Clean, stay safe, do what you can, and be good to other people about it, because I just don't want to hear you like, well, you don't know nothing about norovirus. I'm like, I don't. I'm not a doctor. But if a doctor says wipe things down and, I'm going to do it. Just do it. Please.
Right. If your bodily functions are doing certain things, it's real.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's not made up. And the other thing that always ticks me off this time of year is people who want to power through it. Oh, I'll go into work. I'll go to that church service. I'll go to that community event. I'll just get through it. You know what? If you're sick like that, especially with a norovirus, a flu, please stay home, because nobody else wants it. And I get there are certain people who have not so great employers who basically force you to come in, and it's like, I can't not make my rent money. At least wear a mask and use a lot of hand sanitation and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you work in a good place, they're going to appreciate you not coming in and getting people sick. And and that's the other thing too, is just stay home and rest. Don't try to call into a meeting. Don't try. Just give yourself some time, lay your head down, get some sleep, because that's what your body's telling you anyways. Because this is how, I don't know about you, Todd, but for me, when I get something like the flu, I get it bad. And that's my body's way of saying, hey, remember how you didn't take care of yourself the rest of the year? Well, now you have no choice, and it's not going to feel good either. You're going to be miserable. So just take care of yourself. And I want to go back to something you were saying about the road conditions. 511.gov, great website. Also, fantastic app. It's available on an app. You can put it on your phone, and you can all the great tools that you see on the website are right there on the app. You can see cameras on the road. You can see the signs that are hanging over. They'll say things like, 20 minutes to downtown, or if they have if there's an amber or a silver alert, or exits closed because of accident. You can see all those things on the app as well. So get 511.gov on your phone.
That's awesome. I did not know what came in. There's an app for everything these days, right?
I know. It's like they should use that for a commercial or something, I think.
There's no off on the Genius Switch of Greg Bach, right?
No. It's like we're a Genius bar or something. I don't know. It's like weird.
That's exactly what it is. All right. So yes, the bottom line is don't if you can, stay home if you're not feeling well, because this stuff is just it's bad. So yeah, I'm like you, Greg. I knock on my hollow head wood. I don't get sick that often, but yes, when I do, it's usually not great.
Yeah. So just take some time.
Take time for you.
Get your vaccination, and rest when you can, and call in sick when you need to. That's advice from doctors Todd and Greg. We're not doctors.
But we like to play one on the radio. So here's the headline. We're going to come back and talk about this after the break. Some local news, weather, and sports here. We're going to come back and talk about this. Story of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel this morning. You can also find it on wispolitics.com. State Superintendent skips forum while her challengers take questions on vouchers and more. So there was a forum here in Madison yesterday sponsored by WisPolitics.com. Great website, great folks there. And the two candidates for the state superintendent race took questions on school funding, vouchers, and teacher shortage solutions at what's believed to be the only forum featuring multiple candidates ahead of the February 18th primary. Think about that. That's the only one, the only forum we're going to have before the February 18th primary. Missing from yesterday's event, current superintendent Dr. Jill Underly, who is seeking re-election. The top two candidates advanced to the April 1st election. Early voting for the primary began this week. We're going to come back and talk about that. Who was there? It was Jeff Wright and Brittney Kinzer. We'll tell you what they had to say. And if you want to call in, Greg and I are always happy to chit-chat, whether it's about this or weather or fettuccine Alfredo recipes.
Ooh.
Come on back. It is Civic Media This Morning. Bach and Allbaugh on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I was wrong. I just don't belong. But then I've been there.
I hear people talking bad about the way they have to live here in this country. Harping on the wars we fight, griping about the way
Welcome
things
back
ought
to Civic
be.
Meeting this morning. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Mr. Greg Bach. We are filling in for a vacationing Pat Krietlow and Up North News Radio, who will return in a matter of days after Pat enjoys some fresh fish, a little sea salt, a little wind in his hair, his coif of hair, his news anchor hair blowing in the wind. Glad to have you along with us. The answers, my friend, are blowing in the wind. The answers are blowing in the wind. 35 past the hour of 7 o'clock. What do you dial up there on the old music scene, Greg?
That is Merle Haggard, the fighting side of me. I was looking up songs about debating, and that they were all fighting songs. But I guess there's not a lot of pop songs dedicated to the thousands-year-old art of political debate.
Imagine that. Songwriter said, "Let's write us a song about debating." Next.
How about fighting? Good enough.
We'll take that. No, well done.
Thank you.
Glad to have you along. It is a chilly morning across the state of Wisconsin, anywhere from 0 up in Superior to a balmy 14 degrees in Racine, where Greg is at this morning. Otherwise, temperatures in the single digits to low teens across much of the state. Going to warm up a little bit today, and then Brittney Merlot says expect a major storm to come in from much of Wisconsin overnight tonight. Several places like Eau Claire, Chippewa Valley could see 7-8 inches of snow. Lesser amounts north and south of that line, kind of along Highway 29. Here in the southern part of the state, or south central in Madison, where I'm at, just a dusting, maybe an inch or so. Wisconsin Dells, kind of the cutoff line to the south in terms of where the heaviest snows may fall. Brittney says most of that snow will fall overnight and then into Saturday, but will be done and over by Super Bowl Sunday. So if you have plans to be on the road, most of our roadways should be cleared this morning. Most of Wisconsin roadways right now in good winter driving condition. No major accidents are being reported. And as Greg reminds us, you can see all of that not only online, but on the app as well for 511WI.gov. 36 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. Want to get back to this story we started before the break there. Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. And there was a debate, or we're calling it a forum, not really a debate. It was a forum that was sponsored by WisPolitics.com here in Madison for the state school superintendent race. Yes, there is an election coming up on February 18th. Early voting has started in person across the state of Wisconsin for this February 18th primary. Check your local listings, as they say, because there may be primaries for local school board races or county supervisor races, city council races, and the like in your particular community or neighborhood. But the big one across the state of Wisconsin is for this state school superintendent race on February 18th. So it's believed to be the only forum featuring multiple candidates ahead of that primary. Missing from yesterday's event, current superintendent Jill Underly, who is seeking re-election. The top two candidates advanced to the April 1st election. The Sauk Prairie School District Superintendent Jeff Wright was one of the candidates. He along with with Dr. Underly are the two Democrats running for the position, and then education consultant Brittney Kinzer, calling herself a moderate but is being backed by Republicans, was there as well. Here are the 9 takeaways, or at least a couple of them, of the 9, according to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, who had reporters there yesterday covering it with Wright and Kinzer there. WisPolitics President Jeff Mayers said he provided 2 dates to the campaigns. Kinzer and Wright, quote-unquote, responded right away and chose February 6th. Underly said she had a conflict. Mayers said WisPolitics asked for alternative dates, but her campaign did not provide them. Underly's campaign said she was unavailable to attend because of a University of Wisconsin System Board of Regents meeting. The DPI superintendent, by virtue of their position, serves as a regent. Underly missed at least part of the board's education committee meeting that began at 10:30 a.m. because she held a 10:30 a.m. press conference here in Madison to discuss Head Start programs that have been unable to access funding under a freeze by President Donald Trump. The state's Head Start programs provide free child care for low-income families and are housed under the Department of Children and Families, not the DPI. WisPolitics Forum took place from noon until 1 yesterday, overlapping with the board's scheduled lunch break. Underly's campaign offered no clarity as to why Underly missed at least part of a board meeting, but could not skip the board's lunch break. Her campaign referred questions about her schedule to the Department of Public Instruction. The DPI said Underly participated in the press conference because it's important to share the local efforts of federal government decisions. A spokesperson said the lunch break allowed the board to eat before continuing the meeting. So, again, seems odd. Seems a little odd to me, and I'll stand corrected, but I believe this is not the first Board of Regents meeting that Underly has missed or missed in part. And again, I know Jeff Mayers pretty well from back in the time when I worked in politics and he was covering. A very fair guy, very even-keeled guy, and disappointed that Dr. Underly could not find a date to make this forum work, because I think it's important to Wisconsin voters to hear candidates. I don't care what position it's for, to hear candidates in a way where all of them can be together and answer the same question. Back to this story, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel says, do public schools need more money? That was one of the questions. Yes, according to Jeff Wright, the other Democrat in the race. He said, pointing to the increasing number of school districts going to referendum to pay for schools and to stay open. He said the amount schools receive for special education students must increase, but he said schools don't need $4 billion from the state surplus, as Underly has called for in her budget request. Kinzer also said she supports increasing the special education reimbursement rate, as well as more money for rural schools' transportation needs. She called for more budget transparency to ensure money goes to classrooms and not the bureaucracy. Another question that came up at this education forum yesterday for state school superintendent, they were asked for solutions to a teacher shortage. I know that's something that Pat has talked about before on Up North News Radio. Had a lot of people from the Wisconsin Public Education Network here on this program, or on the Up North News Radio, talking about this. I come from a family of educators and can tell you firsthand that, you know, I think particularly after Act 10 and what the Walker administration did, a lot of folks are saying, why do I want to go into public education when we're just beat up all the time, and our benefits are continuing to be cut. So at the forum yesterday, it was asked for solutions to this teacher shortage. The state's teacher workforce is in trouble, it says. Enrollment in educator participation programs is below 2008-2009 levels. Post-pandemic teacher turnover rates are the highest the state has seen in 15 years, and 1 in 3 Wisconsin teachers are estimated to leave the profession after just 3 years. Asked for solutions to these problems, Wright suggested, my computer took a glitch there. Wright suggested improving pathways for mid-career changers and making sure teachers have a voice in how their schools are run. Kinzer pointed to the licensure process. She said it took her a year to get through the quote-unquote bureaucracy and said she'd heard from others who had also struggled. Kinzer's administrator license expired last summer. A lapse her challengers suggest make her unqualified for the job. The position does not require the office holder to have an active educator's license. In a press conference after Thursday's event, Kinzer said she had 25 years of an educational experience, and questions about her lack of license was a quote-unquote distraction. Now, I find that interesting because, Jeff Wright seems to have no problem keeping his license up, and he's been on our program.
Yeah.
And one of the things that impresses me about Wright is, even though he's a Democrat, and he ran for state assembly as a Democrat and lost in, I believe, a primary race before. Maybe it was a general election. I'm not sure. He was running in a more Republican district, but he has a history of running in a record as a Democrat. But he represents, for those listening around the state that don't know where the Sauk Prairie School District is, it's just south of Wisconsin Dells. It's a kind of a more rural-ish part of Wisconsin. But the interesting thing is, there are both Republicans and Democrats in that district. He's had to work with both sides to make their district run and run very well. There's a lot of Latino migration into that part of the state as well. So he's dealt with changing enrollments there of who's going to school and working with a variety of different people. So I was impressed with the guy. I'm not sure if you've heard much about him, Greg, but I just like the way that even though he's proud to be a Democrat, he's able to work and with both sides to make his district work.
Well, I mean, Pat had him on the show earlier this week, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yes, earlier this week, as well as Dr. Underly as well. And I like listening to him speak. I think he's got a lot of great ideas, and I think, that's one of those positions, in my opinion, superintendent, that has to look beyond the party lines. It has to be like, this is about the teachers, this is about the kids, this is about what's good for them, and that's improving the education as best as possible, but also improving the conditions for the teachers. Because as you just said, why would anyone want to be? I personally think a person who wants to become a teacher in this country is next level to me. But especially in this state where they specifically targeted the teachers with not only legislation but with just bitter vitriol towards them. A person who wants to become a teacher in this state should be lauded for just, I would say, a hero in a sense, because they want to take on all of this stuff while wanting to improve the lives of children. That's important. And I think it's unfortunate that Dr. Underly couldn't be there. I think it's odd that, I get it. She's very, very busy. She's got a very important job and she's doing a lot, but to not get back with alternate dates.
Yes, exactly.
Just to not respond. And someone, and you and I have both worked in campaigning, when you're trying to put together events and there's somebody who's like, they're like, we'll see what happens. And you never hear from them again. You're like, well, I can't force you to be here, but it doesn't look good when you're not.
No, I totally agree. And Dr. Underly has been on our show as well before. But it's when there's only going to be one forum, and this is a major race. Yeah. I just think I don't care that somebody, back when I worked in politics, whether it was from my party or my kid, I just think it's incumbent upon those. I've been a candidate myself for assembly twice. You make time. You just make time for public appearances because you're answering to the voter. How can we expect people? Well, we, you and I and Jane and Pat, we all preach to people, be an informed voter. I also think that candidates have a responsibility to be a part of that, informing the voter.
Yeah. And when you see a candidate saying, I was supposed to be here, I'm going to make rearrangements on my schedule, that's to me saying I'm making time for the people. And that's an important message to get out there. And when you're running on a campaign of saying, I'm going to ask for $4 billion, which doesn't sit right with a lot of people.
It's ridiculous.
Both sides. And you got the guy saying, the guy in your party saying, we don't need to do $4 billion. You're not there to defend yourself. That's also not good.
It's just again, and I'm independent, as most people know, on our regular program, but I think it's a frustration of mine that Democrats too often just throw money at something without explaining why, or doing a blameless autopsy, as they say, and say, well, you know what, this is something that can be tweaked here. here's other things that truly matter, and here's the money we actually need. And I think that's a more realistic approach to take to it. So, yeah, disappointed in Dr. Underly that she couldn't make time for that, but very impressed with Jeff Wright there as well. I think here's the other, what do we have, 2 minutes left here, Greg? 1 minute? All right, so very quickly, the candidates who did show up yesterday differed greatly on the repeal of Act 10. Kinzer said the law should not be repealed, where Jeff Wright yesterday said that it clearly should be. And again,
shocking.
I know, shocking. I know. And again, where this Kinzer, she wants to paint herself as a moderate, but no, I think Act 10 is just fine. That tells you everything you need to know right there, right? We buried the headline. That's what we did. I did. But,
it's that old meme of Cary Grant, get out.
Right, exactly. All right, well, we're going to come back. We got 10 minutes yet before we have to get out, and we will take a little bit. Well, Greg and I will talk about Super Bowl parties. Do you have them? Do you cook for them, or do you just cater in and call Uber Eats or something? Come on back. It's 7:49 on the Civic Media Radio
I
Network.
read about some squirrely guy who claims that he just don't believe.
All right. I'm going to put in I don't know if you're looking at the text line at all.
Oh, yeah, I can. 1 second.
I'm just going to, Scott from Madison listen on XCO said had a thought on that about the strategy of the superintendent. So, all right, we're coming back in a minute and a half.
Gracias. Am I able to see the text? I'm not included in it, so I can't see it.
Oh, you're not up north. It's here. I'll tell you what. This is what I'm going to do.
Sorry,
I'm going to put
you
it.
can read it. We come back. That's fine.
I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, okay, cool. That's fine. Thank you.
Scott.
I'm on the outside looking in.
That's fine. You're better off. Too many chat rooms.
Amen to that. Oh,
All right.
All right.
60 seconds. Secret show.
Welcome back to Civic Media this morning. It is 9 minutes before the hour of 8 o'clock on this Friday, February 7th. Greg Bach in Racine, Todd Allbaugh in Madison. We are filling in for a vacationing Pat Krietlow and Up North News Radio, and happy to give him some time off. Greg dialing up some Beatles, because on this date in 1964, February 7th, thousands of screaming Beatle fans greeted the Beatles when their plane lands in New York City. The scenes instantly become iconic images of Beatlemania landing on the shores of America on this date in 1964. How about that, Greg?
I just, honestly, I'm a huge Beatles fan.
Yeah.
And I really love watching there's a great documentary from Ron Howard about them on the road. There was one that just came out, I think this year, about that year, 64, or maybe, 63 before they got here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll watch a Beatles documentary as long as it's authorized, because there's nothing worse, Todd, than turning on a documentary and not only is it not Beatle music, but like close to that they won't get sued. But also they're like, we talked to John Lennon's roommate's former landlord's second cousin, and they had some thoughts about Beatlemania.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
And they just play on the Beatles' name.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You could have got as much information from a family reunion on the Beatles as some of these things.
Right.
Well said. Well said. It is a beautiful morning for the most part around the state of Wisconsin, ahead of a little, well, maybe more than a little snowstorm, according to Brittney Merlot, our fantastic meteorologist. Right now, temperatures around the state still sitting at 0. Can't get off the schneid up there in Superior, Wisconsin, still at 0. Looks like Ashland has warmed up a little bit to a 9 degrees right now. It is also fallen down to 0 in Hayward this morning. Looks like 1 degree above 0 in Eau Claire right now. It is up to 12 degrees above 0 in La Crosse. Over in Wausau, it is 7. Green Bay is at 9. Here in Madison, we've warmed up a bit, matching Greg Bach's heat at 16 degrees above 0. We are the same as Racine and Kenosha right now. Looks like 14 degrees at Milwaukee right now. So there you go. That is the weather forecast. Quickly, Greg, any Super Bowl plans for you this weekend?
I don't have any, but everyone's been talking about this week. I kind of want to like crash a Super Bowl party. I don't have a dog in the race. I was saying yesterday on the show, I'm Matt and Aaron on air Monday through Fridays, 10 a.m. to noon on the Civic Media Radio Network. I was saying to a friend that like I'm seeing a lot of people rooting for the Eagles, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna root for Kansas City because I love Travis Kelce and I love Taylor Swift, and I got friends who are Kansas City fans, so I'm rooting for them. So I just want to sit around, laugh a lot, and eat terrible food and make fun of whatever and just have a good time. What about you?
Yeah, I don't have any big plans, but I kind of like you. I think it's because those Eagles fans were so, well, not all of them, but a couple of them were just so terrible to some of our Packer fans during the playoffs this year. I'm salty at the Eagles, and they're just kind of cocky, and I'm not for them. I kind of would like to see history being made, the first three-peat in the NFL for the Super Bowl, so that'd be fun. And yes, I'm like you, a Swiftie and Kelsey fan as well. So, and I guess the serious part of it, I just think that Andy Reid is just such an incredible coach. And you looked at some of those plays he dialed up against the Bills in the AFC Championship game. I think that Saquon Barkley, for the great running back for Philadelphia, if he could be contained by the defense, then I think that the coaching is going to come through, and Mahomes as a quarterback will ultimately win out. I think it'll be close, though, by like a field goal. But the key is that the Chiefs have to shut down Saquon Barkley.
Well, and that was what Paul Noonan was saying yesterday on the show as well. We have Paul Noonan or J.R. Radcliffe, great sports writers here in Wisconsin, on our show, and he said that that it's going to be a showing of defense. And I said, while people aren't excited about the two teams because this is just sort of like, oh, cool, the popular kids are back.
Right.
A show of defense means that we might have a low-scoring game, which means we'll have good plays being run in defense, and so that's more exciting and that makes me want to watch it, actually, instead of saying like, oh, this team happened to irk its way through against the Giant, not the actual Giants, but like it's going to be a blowout. Who wants to watch that? Right. But if it's going to be really good football playing, then I'm in.
Yeah, me too. Quick comment here on a previous story talking about the state school superintendent race. One of our listeners, Scott, listening in Madison, says, Todd can talk, quote, sounds like actual Democratic strategy. We're going to end up with the two Democrats running against each other in the end, unquote. I don't know, Scott. We'll see. Yeah. I know Republicans, particularly Robin Voss, have been putting a lot of money into the Republican candidate there. I would not be surprised to see her get through as one of the people, but we'll see. We'll see.
If it's both Democrats, I mean, I think the way that Jeff Wright's been running, it's going to be interesting to see that, though. Because he's not. This doesn't look like a get two Democrats through and let the incumbent win. This seems like Jeff's got some ideas he really thinks are important.
Well, and the interesting part is the teachers union WEAC has endorsed Jeff Wright, and so it's not a sure thing that underleads. And she's had some. There is some consternation there in the Democratic Party. She's been kind of at odds with Governor Evers as well. So we will see how that comes out. I'm picking the Chiefs. How about you, Greg?
I'm picking like you. I'm going to pick
Yep.
the Chiefs, and I think it's going to be a field goal or maybe just a touchdown. It's going to be very down to the wire.
Coming up on Matt on Air today.
Oh, we got Dan Schaefer coming through as always, ready to recombobulate with us because he's always our 11 o'clock guest recombobulating. Let me just take a really quick look-see as well. I should have this in front of me. We also have, no, that's the wrong day. I'm sorry. I'm very professional. Randy Manor, who is a retired general from the Army, and talking about Trump 2.0, all of the things going into it. What should we expect from him? But yeah.
All right. Sounds
10
good.
to noon.
I will see you at noon on Civic Media. Stay tuned for Earl Ingram across much of Civic Media today. Thank you, Greg, for making the show run. We really appreciate you. Pat's back next week. Dr. Lyerly on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Boy, I should have known all of that stuff before.
Sorry, I should have given you a heads up.
That's
my bad.
No, I will have that. I'll be better at that. Sorry.
I just thought, well, I'll give you a plug.
I appreciate that. And do that next Friday, and I'll be ready. All right, buddy.
All right, you're amazing. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend.